Hello, my name is Mariam Kamara, and I am currently in my office in Niger, Niamey specifically. Thinking local and acting locally touches on simple self-reliance. The other way in which it matters is in terms of self-confidence. The notion that you can find solutions locally is incredibly empowering, especially in countries which often are previous colonies, have this drive but also this pressure to transform their economies, their living environment, to an ideal that has nothing to do with them. Thinking local, what it does for your identity is incredibly powerful in terms of preservation of a certain history and culture and heritage. I've always had a hard time understanding this modernist approach. I just didn't see the value in erasing everything and starting over from scratch. I am much more fascinated with the notion of reinvention. In the work that I do, material is very central because it has to do with either using local materials or importing. Working predominantly in an economically challenged place, I see it as a point of responsibility. The challenge is to take those materials and make projects that feel contemporary in order to help debunk this notion that somehow a local or traditional material equals a traditional space. We make complex construction mechanisms with the local materials in order to have a final product that is clean and high standard. There is no contradiction between local materials and high quality. That is actually an idea that I really fight. 10 years ago, the clients might have been a bit more reticent, but now it's really finding an echo. What has not caught on is definitely the industry. Because there's very little industry for these materials, it lands on us as designers to educate ourselves about them enough that we know how to produce the highest possible quality of those materials. When we go back to the idea of thinking local, it wasn't just about the materials and it wasn't just about the users or the economics of it. It was also about the expertise. I really was interested in working with local expertise, so the engineers would be local, the contractors would be local. It's a dialogue. It's about hyper locality, and that has a lot to do with local confidence, because one of the things that I saw growing up in a place like Niger was just a sheer lack of confidence that can be generalized to the whole continent, that we think that expertise, skills, and know-how need to be learned elsewhere and come from elsewhere. I don't think we should ever be against incorporating something from elsewhere. However, it should not be the objective. The problem with what happened in the 20th century, it was this collision between the colonial project and the Industrial Revolution. The two came together and made this perfect storm of what gave birth to the international style. For me, what I find encouraging is about having these discussions are not even about locality. It's about understanding that this was always the norm. We just had this blip of like 150 years. We're going back to a reasonable approach, the natural approach. There's no attempt at being radical or revolutionary on my part. It's about common sense. The sustainability front comes from a need to solve the issue of scarcity. Developing economies or African contexts, we're not the first polluters. We hardly contribute to it. However, even if we're not part of the problem now, we will be in the future. When you're thinking about using local material, you're inside of sustainable approach. We are in the danger of reducing sustainability to a set of bells and whistles that have to do with solar panels and composting toilets and LEED certifications, and those things are utterly irrelevant to us. At the end of the day, is that what's going to save the planet? Solar panels have to be produced, right? It's a product. Their production contributes to pollution. It's this really bizarre system that I very much try to be outside of and look at sustainability as a holistic issue. If that principle were to become ubiquitous, we would have a better chance of survival as a species. Unless we take very seriously this issue of locality, we are really in peril. I feel as a planet, we're quite sick right now. As a species, as a people, there's a lot to mend. There's a lot to repair. This local approach, it's about seeing the opportunities on the ground and embracing them. That is something definitely to be excited about and look forward to.